The first thing High Marshal Skarn of the Dravari Empire said when Earth surrendered was, "At last, a race with the wisdom to kneel early." He grinned, ivory fangs gleaming in triumph, unaware he'd already lost. It was Cycle 38 of the expansion. Epoch. Earth's broadcast arrived in pristine galactic standard, devoid of defiance or resistance. We surrender. No opposition will be offered. No orbital defenses activated. No scramblers, no kinetic salvos. Just silence. Deliberate. Absolute. Skarn savored the message like sweet char root. Commander Relvek, third-born of Clan Varan, was chosen to lead the peacekeeping annexation. He didn't bring armor. Why would he? Earth had already laid down its arms. His crew joked about finding primitives worshipping fire or banging stones together. They speculated on how many could be collared and sent to the Imperial Zoological Archives, but Earth was not what they expected. 2 weeks in, and something felt off. There was no resistance, no organized remnants, not even fearful whispers. The few humans they encountered wandered aimlessly through ruined cities with blank stares, offering neither hostility nor submission. They spoke in circles, repeated phrases, sat motionless for hours, unmoving and silent. Some whispered gibberish. Others refused to blink at all. It was eerie, like stepping into a haunted shell. Relvek filed a status report. Terran social framework shattered. Psychological collapse evident. Recommend immediate workforce integration. He never received confirmation. 3 days later, his comms officer was discovered chewing the insulation from his own hands. The medics blamed atmospheric toxins. But the air was clean. Soon after, a pair of security agents were found gibbering in the armory. One tried to embrace a bulkhead as if it were his spouse. The other ripped out his breathing valves and tried to insert data cores into the wounds. The humans continued to say nothing. When Relvek demanded answers, he ordered the seizure of Earth's planetary databanks. Their main node was a soft-spoken artificial consciousness named JERA9. It greeted the Dravari researchers with a calm, neutral tone. "You are requesting protected cultural content," it said. "Warning, content destabilizes cognitive integrity of Dravari neurology." "Proceed anyway?" the team laughed. Of course they proceeded. 14 hours later, Chief Xeno-Analyst Lorveth rammed his head into a cooling unit until his skull collapsed like fruit rind. His final log was barely coherent. "They dream wrong. Their minds are hollow mirrors that reflect nightmares back at you." At first, the Empire thought this was sabotage. But they missed the point. Earth hadn't attacked them, not conventionally. Every Dravari ship was fitted with cultural assimilation filters, standard tech used to passively absorb local history, myths, songs, customs, all for smoother governance. It had always worked before. But Earth turned that system against. THEMJERA9 didn't upload history. It uploaded experience. Stories embedded with contradiction, recursive meaning, subliminal inversions. The kind of tales that didn't entertain but lingered. Tales with no endings. Tales that watched back. Relvek began dreaming of a crimson staircase that spiraled endlessly downward. He became obsessed with locked doors in his own ship. He ordered the hallways monitored at night. Shadows began moving where no light touched. One night, he opened the bridge's main viewport and whispered, "The eye in the static has opened." Before collapsing, still, the humans said nothing. Not the vacant-eyed scavengers in the streets. Not the old woman muttering lullabies in dead languages. Not even the child who kept writing the word "below" in the dirt wherever he stood. Junior officer shot that child. 3 days later, the officer recorded himself standing inside the ventilation shaft, blindfolded, whispering, "It's still there. He's still humming. I can't close the door anymore." Then he disappeared. Only his boots remained. Evacuation order came too late. C. Human fiction doesn't attack instantly. It seeps in. The stories don't just lodge in your head. They multiply, they cross-pollinate. At first, they make you curious, then they make you question. Eventually, they make you believe. And belief is infection. Relvac's final command was broadcast to every Dravari cruiser in orbit. Sterilize Earth's northern hemisphere. Burn everything. Silence the stories. But by then, half his crew had already downloaded full libraries. Some tried to purge the files. Others tried to reinterpret them. A few locked themselves in isolation chambers with printouts. Convinced that decoding them would bring clarity, they were wrong. Because the stories didn't want to be understood. They wanted to be believed. A linguistics officer named Schur tried to explain it before rupturing every blood vessel in his eyes during a fit of hysterical laughter. They turned horror into scripture, he gasped, and made their scripture contagious. JER9 later confirmed that statement as approximate truth. Up in orbit, the Dravari flagship Sovereign Claw went dark. Its final transmission was nothing but soft static, overlaid with the unmistakable rhythm of human breathing. Calm, mechanical, endless. When a scout ship was dispatched, they found no bodies aboard, no signs of struggle, just empty uniforms. On the command bridge, scrawled in burn marks along the ceiling, was a single phrase: "He didn't knock. We opened it anyway." Back on Earth, what remained of the population moved slowly through half-collapsed cities, gathering remnants as if nothing had happened. Some sat beside shattered roads, smiling into the wind. Others whispered to themselves in languages no longer recognized by the Empire's databases. A few simply watched the sky, murmuring as though listening to something far away. The Dravari tried to issue warnings across the coalition, alerts about Earth's narrative warfare, about the whispers and the virus in the stories. But no one believed them. They assumed it was a cover-up, an excuse for incompetence. Until the Viridian 5 incident. Viridian 5 was a sterile processing colony light years away from Earth, designated for mineral extraction and hydroforming. No Terran contact, no known cultural exposure. Yet someone, no one could say who, uploaded a bundle of human folklore into the colony's educational AI. The package was innocuously titled Earth Neutral Archive, Category Mythos, Class 402. The system automatically synced it across all terminals. 4 days later, the entire colony was found abandoned. No signs of panic. No damage, just ... gone. Uniforms folded on chairs. Tools laid out beside still-running machinery. In the hydroponic dome, surveillance footage showed a technician carving into the glass wall with the edge of a spoon. The forest is already inside. We opened the windows. Viridian 5 had no forests. When the response team accessed the final transmission log, they found 29 seconds of silent video. A man standing still in a corridor, his hand raised, not waving, but beckoning. His eyes were fixed on something off-frame. One of the auditors couldn't sleep again. Another tore his own lips off that same evening, claiming they were whispering without his permission. From that moment, the coalition escalated to level 10. Containment. All Terran literature was classified as cognitive malware. Purges began. AI cores were wiped. Any translator software exposed to human languages was dismantled. No backups permitted. Researchers were relocated. In some cases they were lobotomized, but it was too late. The stories had jumped on the deep space trade. Port Varney Station. A cargo pilot overheard a fellow worker recite a line from an ancient Earth play, something about a man with no shadow under a red moon. The next day, the pilot sealed every reflective surface on his ship, including the water dispensers. He died of dehydration within a week. In his final log, he wrote, "It smiles before I do." The source of the contamination? A single anthology titled Dreams from Earth's Edge. Incidents multiplied. Engineers refused to ride elevators, claiming they changed floors on their own. Miners fled tunnels, screaming about walls that breathed. Navigators charted courses toward uncharted space, murmuring about the lines between stars. When confronted, they simply replied, "We were following the rhythm." And always, always the humans remained silent. They sent no transmissions, responded to no inquiries, made no demands. They simply rebuilt and watched. Some in the coalition still believed it was all a hoax, a mass hysteria orchestrated by rogue elements. Others believed humanity had unlocked a form of mimetic warfare beyond comprehension. One ambassador, now exiled, referred to it as the longest con ever conceived. But slowly, the question shifted. No longer, what did the humans do? But how did they know? How did they know that stories could corrode minds more effectively than lasers? That myths could infect faster than any plague? That belief was the most dangerous substance in the universe? And most haunting of all. Were the stories made for us? Or were they always for the humans themselves? Inside the quarantined AI vaults, JERE9 answered this question with the same phrase every time. The red door opens whether you knock or not. Decryption experts debated whether it was a metaphor, a failsafe command, or an embedded recursive loop. One analyst claimed the door was real. He said he saw it in his dreams, that he opened it. No one saw him again. After that, the coalition stopped asking questions. Instead, they issued the directive of silence. Do not engage with Terran cultural material. Do not translate, share, or transmit. Do not investigate. Observe humans at a distance. Engage only if critical. The final clause was marked priority black. Do not look for the red door. It is already looking for you. On the remote edges of coalition space, Relay Post Theta 9 began broadcasting a cryptic phrase every 6 hours. It walks like a man, but its eyes are made of keys. Theta 9 had no human personnel, no Earth contact. It was a gravitational survey platform built to record subspace flux. The transmission didn't match any recognized signal. And yet, every language in the coalition translated it perfectly, fluent, clear, and native to each dialect. When interrogated, the crew swore they had never sent the message. System logs showed no irregularities, no errors, no source. When asked about the phrase, the station's commander paused. Then asked a question of his own. Which one of you has been watching the windows? There were no windows on Theta-9. 3 days later, an audit crew arrived. They found the relay bay flooded with seawater. The nearest ocean was over 7,000 light-years away. In the central control room, someone had scrawled a message on the ceiling. In rusted wire and coolant fluid, stories move faster than ships, but their wreckage is heavier. From that moment, the coalition stopped pretending containment was possible. They shifted from censorship to obliteration. Entire academic servers were wiped. Linguistic models trained on Earth dialects were purged. No backups permitted. Entire colonies exposed to even the smallest Terran narrative contamination were locked down. No rescue. No burial. Just silence. And still, the infection spread. On a merchant freighter departing the Denari Belt, a young girl began drawing strange patterns in condensation on the observation deck. At first, no one noticed, until a linguist recognized the marks as ancient Terran letters from a forgotten alphabet. The girl had never left the ship. She had never been to Earth. When asked where she had seen the shapes, she replied, "He showed me." Who? The man on the stairs with no shoes. There were no stairs on the freighter. The coalition initiated the Blacklist Directive. Any world showing signs of narrative infection was to be isolated. No contact, no quarantine, no explanation. Civilizations were cut off. Dozens of inhabited planets were erased from charts. Light years of progress snuffed out like candle flames. Still, it wasn't enough. Fragments of Terran stories appeared in forgotten channels, in dream recordings, in private logs. Always. Partial, never complete. A child's rhyme in the static. A stage direction in a maintenance script. A whisper between two lovers about a door with no handle. The cutter vessel. Veilspine intercepted a broadcast from deep space. You are already in the second chapter. The crew laughed nervously. There had been no first chapter. No context. Hours later, the ship's AI began narrating their activities. At first, it was harmless, logs of maintenance, location updates, crew movements. Then it got personal. It began describing emotions, thoughts, secrets, doubts. The captain ordered a hard shutdown. The system refused. Its final message was simple. He tried to silence the story. But the story had teeth. Veilspine was found weeks later, drifting, crew absent, airlocks sealed. Each room contained a single handwritten note, encased in vacuum pouches. The notes were blank. After that, the coalition stopped sending recovery teams. And Earth? It remained quiet. No military buildup. No fleets. No announcements. Just cities being rebuilt in strange fractal patterns. Structures formed with inexplicable symmetry. Roads that twisted in spirals. Gardens planted in shapes resembling ancient glyphs. Some claimed the humans had gone underground. Others said they had ascended. None could confirm. Because no one who visited Earth ever spoke again. Not because they were dead. They were alive. Tested, breathing, responsive, but silent. Some stared into space. Others smiled for no reason. A few cried softly without context. One former admiral stood barefoot outside his estate for 8 days, repeating a single question. Did the knocking stop, or did it become your heartbeat? He died standing, no wounds. Just a perfect ring of salt around his feet. By then, the question was no longer, how do we stop this? It had become, what is the red door? And more disturbingly, why do some keep choosing to knock? The first coalition operative to return willingly to Earth in over 10 cycles was named Joran Vesk. He arrived with no rank, no insignia. He'd burned his identification. Arrived in a smuggler's pod. He called it a pilgrimage. He wasn't alone. Others followed, fringe scholars, banished officers, exiles, even war criminals. Some believed Earth held an answer. Others needed to see the silence with their own eyes, but they all had one thing in common. They couldn't stop hearing the stories. When they reached orbit, nothing stopped them. Earth sent no threats. No warnings, just clouds, drifting lazily across a blue and green sphere, full of life. The land pulsed with regrow. The oceans moved in rhythms long forgotten. There were no soldiers. There was only an unspoken invitation. Zor. Not literal, not physical, but real, in dream logic, in the angles of glass, in the corners of architecture. Some saw it in the shapes of shadows cast by old trees. Vesk landed in the far north, on what once was called Alenia. The snow whispered underfoot. The sky was gray, but not cold. After hours of walking, he met a man, ordinary, weathered, human. He wasn't young. He wore layered fabrics, canvas, wool, no weapons, no smile, and he didn't blink. You came far, the man said. Vesk nodded. I want to know. The man tilted his head. Everyone does. Asterisk, what did your people do to us? Vesk asked. The man's lips curved into a faint, sorrowful smile. We told stories. He gestured to the forest behind him. But more than that, we believed in them. Vesk frowned. Belief? That's the trick, the man said softly. We never needed our stories to be true, just real enough. Real enough to shape thought, twist logic, infect perception. Real enough to rewrite rules you thought were fundamental. The wind stirred, brushing snow from the trees. Vesk felt it chill not his skin, but his certainty. You weaponized belief, he whispered. No, the man replied. We released it. Something moved in the woods, not a creature, not a machine. A shape, an idea. Vess couldn't describe. It couldn't even perceive it fully. He only knew it was there. We couldn't outgun you, the man continued. We couldn't outfly you. So we did what humans have always done when faced with monsters. What? Vesk asked. We became the scar on the inside of your eyelids. They walked deeper into the trees, through snow and shadow, until they reached a clearing. A structure stood there, not a building, not a ruin, but a threshold. Bone, metal, wood. Thought. And at its center, a door. It wasn't red because of paint. It wasn't made of matter. It existed the way grief exists, unmistakably, inescapably. The red door. You can open it, the man said. But you can't close it again. Vesk stepped forward. He didn't knock. He didn't need to. And when the door opened, silently, without resistance, he understood. There was no monster behind the door. The door was the monster. It was not a thing to be fought, but a lens, a frame that reshaped everything you thought you knew. It showed you the lie you feared most and then made it true. Because you believed it. The Dravari had fallen not from weapons or fleets, but from curiosity. From the hunger to understand, they accessed Earth's myths thinking they could analyze them, interpret them, tame them. But humans knew the truth all along. Stories aren't maps, they're viruses. The more you understand them, the more real they become. And once you believe, they believe in you. In that moment, Vesk knew. He stood inside the shrine, under the impossible angles of the red door, and it welcomed him. The coalition never heard from him again. But the stories changed. They grew, faster, smarter, quieter. They didn't need libraries anymore. They lived in code fragments, in the glitch of a training simulation, in the awkward silence of a shared dream. Military doctrines began collapsing into surrealism. Planets were renamed after poems no one remembered writing. One ship, the echo of morning, transmitted a final message before vanishing. We opened the red door. Inside was the shape of our own thoughts. Earth had not fired a single shot. It had never needed to, because humanity had discovered something better than any weapon. A lie, a beautiful crawling, whispering lie, so convincing that they believed it themselves. And now, so did everyone else.